Awesome. Well, let me introduce you. I'm talking to John Allen today, former member of SR-71, Charm City Devils, and now a member of Stone Horses. And they just released their 5-song EP, Good Old Days, out July 31st. And John, thanks for your time, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's
Appreciate
let me
it.
start by asking you Stone Horses. I love the album cover for one thing, man. The is
Thank
that an
you.
old Pontiac Firebird?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. And it really reflects the name of the band and the songs. Just has that really badass 70s kind of feel.
Cool.
Uh, Stone Horses. Where'd you get the name from?
Well, my daughters were busting on me the other day. It really is kind of like I've been reading a good bit about Led Zeppelin and the juxtaposition of heavy and light is kind of is the thing that I think Jimmy Page was said to have liked about the name Led Zeppelin, and he took it even further about the songwriting, shades of light and dark, or heaviness and lightness. So I thought that the juxtaposition of something in motion all the time, like horses are usually, you think of them as race horses or a workhorse or whatever, something that moves. And then the opposite is something in stone, something that stone doesn't ever move. So it was just kind of a little play on words, I
Cool.
guess a little bit of my failed creative writing course attempt there.
Hey, I like it, man.
Cool.
And like I say, with the album cover and the whole aesthetic of it, really, Stone Horses really fits the sound of the band
Cool.
too.
Thank you.
It definitely does. Now the sound is very much that Dirty Honey, Greta Van Fleet, Rival Sons. When you were recording the album, because it's pretty different from, it's not a whole lot different than Charm City Devils, I guess, but a
Right.
lot different than the SR-71 stuff.
Mhm.
Um, did you want what was your goal? And when you went into the studio, did you say, here's what I want to do? I want to be a part of that grouping, that thing that's getting, that Zeppelin sound is coming back, that 70s sound. Did you purposely go in and say, I love that, I want to be part of that?
Well, so we put out a little EP, Stone Horses, back in 17, and it already had sort of I don't want to say an entirely retro feel to it. Uh, I think it did, actually, but it had a raw, bluesy kind of White Stripes he meets sort of, I don't know, had some Zeppelin influences in there, had some Stonesy kind of influences in there. So we already had it in this band's DNA. And we had the good fortune of we played with Greta Van Fleet on that run when that record was out on that cycle, out in Spokane, and had a great show, and the total right fans for us. And then when Rival Sons, before this new record came out, they were off cycle and they had a show. I think they were going to Europe to do some stuff, so they did a show here on the East Coast in Delaware, and we had the pleasure of supporting them at the Queen Theater in Wilmington, and it was just, again, it was just the perfect kind of we what I'm trying to say, I guess, in a long-winded way, is that I think that we definitely do fit into that genre, and it's not really something that I purposely, planned to do. It was just something that kind of came out in the songwriting, and I guess what's in me, and I'm glad that you heard that and you hit upon that, and our hope is going forward is to play with bands like that, because that's our target audience. I mean, when we played with Rival Sons, well, same thing with Greta, but those fans had never seen us before. I'm sure they didn't know what to expect. And like the
Right.
one instance with Rival Sons, I just never forget. we finished the end of the first song, and I hit this like high, like Ian Gillan. You're talking about retro, like Deep
Yeah.
Purple kind of note, and the band hits the last hit, and it was right before the crowd came up and yelled. But there was a kid down front with his parents. You know, they're huge. They all had Rival Sun shirts on, and I heard him say, "Oh my God!" And that just it hit me so hard on stage. I was like, wow, like, you know, that it felt so good, but at the same time sort of overwhelming and emotional. And I was like, wow, you know, it really hit me. Um and you know, that was the same kind of night that we had like with Greta. It was like there were lines at the merch table for, you know, a while, and you know, we sold out of stuff. And
That's
you know,
awesome.
what I do is I go there and I stay until the last person in line has gotten, you know, has I've gotten to meet them and sign stuff and all. So something that I try to do every night, you know. If you know,
That's
you were talking about SR-71, I was the drummer in that band, and I joined the band. They were already pretty much fully formed, and I, though, you know, after I joined, I did do a lot of writing. It was a different thing for me. I was trying to kind of fit into that, what the
right.
singer was doing. He was the driving force in that band, and that was kind of the impetus actually for me to say, hey, you know, if I'm going to take the bull by the horns and start singing, I have to do this now. After that band ran its course, so that he was sort of the blueprint for me to go, okay, you know, I'm going to be the singer now. You know, I'm
Yeah.
going to drive the ship. So
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. The transition from, you know, the drum throwing to the microphone up in front. You know, you say that he was the impetus for that. You just like that being up front. Because you started as a drummer, yeah.
I did, yeah, and you know, it just I think that well, I always sung backups, and then I got to the point where, and I'd always written songs, so it was like, man, you know, it's now or never. If I'm gonna do this, you know, let's do it now. And you know, and I'm a control freak, so I was like, I need, you know, I need to say what we're doing. So that was really sort of the reason, one of the reasons for doing it as well. You know, I always call myself a poor man's Dave Grohl. So
There you go. Yeah. So you wanted to be up in front, and just do you ever play drums still?
I do, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Not
I'll
on
play.
the record though, right?
Sometimes, you know,
Okay.
some of the tracks are on the older stuff is me. Trying to think. Yeah, on this one, on this EP, I played on Rattlesnake.
Okay.
Uh, I think that's me. The rest of the stuff I think is Jay.
Okay. The band you have on the EP, I know we're not touring, um, but that's a solid band. That will be, if we do tour on this and stuff like that. Well, that's the band we're gonna see.
Yeah, yeah, we've done a ton of shows already, and you know, yeah, that's the, you know, the hope that we can get out sooner rather than later. I guess it all depends on what this virus does, you know, in the next coming months.
Yeah, yeah. How did you record the album? Are you guys from the same area? Do you get together, record in one room? That's kind of how it has a live feel to it. You know, it's really it's pretty raw. It's not overproduced. It's not real
Right.
slick. Um, it sounds like it's live in a room. Um,
Cool. You know, that's one of the things, like, you know, I've talked about, like, when I go into the writing process, I always think in terms of the live show, and I think in terms of, you know, I don't write for the radio. I write for live, really, a lot of times. Well, I think all the time, and maybe to the band's detriment, actually. But yeah. So uh, we do all live in the Mid-Atlantic. Everybody's from the Baltimore area, except for our bass player. He lives in Philadelphia, so that's the only difficult thing, is getting him down. But he's willing. He moved all the way from Texas to be in the band, really. So
awesome.
um, He's actually from Australia, moved to
Wow.
Austin first and then lived in Dallas for a little bit. And now he's in Philadelphia. And so he was just down last week and we were working on some stuff. But yeah, so the process is really different. We do use, Pro Tools technology to, like, a lot of times I'll go in and we do it ass backwards from the traditional way that you used to record back in the day. Is a lot of times I'll go in and I'll start the song idea, either, maybe I'll play a scratch guitar track and to a click and start building the melodies and lyrics and stuff. Uh, and then I'll have Teddy, our guitar player, come down and play an actual good guitar track, and then and then kind of build the song around that, and then go in and play the drums. Backward, it's a backwards process. In the old days, you'd probably bang out a song, you'd work on a song for a couple of weeks or a couple of months as a band and kind of work it all out, and then go in and play the drums first,
Right.
maybe to a scratch track, and then you'd lay in the guitar parts and bass part, and then the vocals and the backup vocals, and
Yeah.
build the track that way. My process is a little bit backwards. And I do try to keep that live feel, and like you said, the raw feel and the imperfections. I think the technology is fantastic, but I don't want it to be laptop rock. I
Right.
want
Right.
it to sound analog. I want it to sound, like humans played it. I don't want it to sound like cyborgs played the music. And I think there's a little bit too much of that these days, or at least I get it. Kids can make a record on their laptop, and that's fine. And there's a place for that, but it's just not what I'm into. Like you said, I mean, I'm into the real, sound and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and it definitely shows, and it really like to appeal to that Greta crowd and the Rival Sons crowd, like you were saying. Uh,
Hmm.
they want raw and slightly dated, even. Yeah, I want a '70s groove and funk and
Yeah.
raw, raunchy feel a little bit.
Yeah, some people are calling it the new wave of classic rock, and I think that's pretty cool. And if it's classic, it'll have its place. I think throughout time, it'll come in and maybe in and out and in and out. But I think they're having a moment now, and hopefully we can have that moment with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, I noticed I got the advance of the EP, and there's a song called "Ride or Die" on there.
Ah.
Yeah, and it's not on. I noticed it's not on
Mhm.
the regular version.
Right.
Yeah, tell me about that one.
That was probably the last song that we did on the track. And if you notice, the chorus, the first chorus, is different from the rest of the choruses, and I didn't realize it until
Huh.
after we had mixed it, and I was like, "Oh crap, I got to go back in and fix that." So yeah, there's if you go back and listen to that now, you check out do you actually have the copy of it, or you just have a
Yeah.
listing?
No, I actually have a copy of it. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my hope is I'm gonna go and fix those courses, and that'll be on the next thing. But yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that's I've listened to it half a dozen times at least,
yeah,
and sounds great, man. I didn't even I'll have to go back. It's got to be slight difference, right?
yeah. It's not majorly different. It's just different. They're different lyrics. I tweaked the lyrics on the first course just to listen to it, and I completely just blank. I had I'm not a good multitasker.
Right.
I guess I
We're
had a
male.
lot of.
None of us are.
Yeah, right. Exactly. My wife tells me all the time. So I had, I guess I was like checking it out, and just to hear it and see if I was going to change the other courses, and I never got back to do it.
Okay.
And we were in a frenzied pace to try and get the record out, and and then I went back and I heard, I was like, oh no, like I never changed this. So, and we were under a deadline, and we were trying to get things done, and I think there were some other maybe mix tweaks that I wanted to have done to the song as well. So yeah, I was disappointed that that didn't that we had to cut it from the track listing, but yeah, it'll see the light of day probably in the next thing. We have a couple other things in the can as well. So
That was my next question. Yeah, I'm sure you're a writer, you're a player, you love to play
mhm,
and record. You don't have just 5 songs and Ride or Die. You
mhm.
have a few more, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We have constantly working. The only thing was like right when I finished the EP, my studio and went down. My computer and everything. And I had like a couple months of just painful, stress inducing angst and trying to get it back up and running. I finally do have it up and running.
Oh, that's
Yeah, there was another track called Die Young that well changed the title to Bought and Sold. And that's in the can. So there's another EP all pretty much all ready to go. Just have to finish some mixing. So yeah.
that's great. Yeah, that's got to be a relief to know too. As a musician, I mean, there's deadlines and stuff like that. A
Yeah.
lot of fans and people like that don't realize that you guys are under a lot of pressure a lot of times to produce.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it was self-imposed, so I guess it was kind of dumb, but
no, not at all. I think that's pretty great self discipline for sure.
yeah.
Uh, um, uh, since 2007, you've been the singer for Charm City Devils.
Yeah.
Um, is that still, have you closed shop there or?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like we the guy, the most of the members of that band just couldn't do it anymore. It's had families and commitments and frankly we just weren't making enough money to make livings, and the guys had to do something else.
Yeah,
And I'm fortunate in that my situation is different. And so yeah, I mean, you're astute and very very correct in saying that this project doesn't sound a whole heck of a lot different from Charm City Devils. Of course, I mean it's my voice, so there's only
right,
so much, there's a familiarity or similarity there that's gonna continue.
right.
And I was the main writer in that band anyway, so again, it's very similar. Um, Charm City, in a lot of ways, it became a thing where I don't know. I wanted to get back with this project to my first love, which was sort of blues and influenced, garagey rock, more on the raw end. So,
Mhm.
we put the first Stone Horses EP out in 2017, and it was really back to that. It was a track called Reckless Ways, which we managed to get that charted on the active rock chart as well, and that had a real kind of raw kind of thing going, something that I really dig, and that it's just this has been a continuation from there as well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the difference, the real difference that I hear between Charm City and
Hmm.
Stone Horses is yeah, it's a little more groove heavy and sly and really really groove heavy guitar parts. Uh,
Yeah,
it's pretty. It's definitely got that '70s feel. Uh,
cool.
you know,
Now are you saying Sly, like Sly in the Family Stone kind of thing?
well, yeah, a little bit, I guess, but no,
Or,
yeah, it's just kind of it's got swagger,
oh, cool.
that
Nice,
cool,
nice.
really kind of that soft guitar part, kind of bluesy guitar part that just
Yeah,
bursts out and rocks you.
yeah.
Uh, it's not always straight in your face, and and,
Hmm.
and that's great too.
Hmm.
But a lot of it has that cool bluesy
Nice,
sly kind of thing going on, and it's a
awesome,
little bit dirty and gritty. I love that. And it's
awesome. Yeah, me too.
yeah, yeah, obviously, man. It's really cool. Now you co-wrote 1985.
Right.
And that's a gigantic hit
Hmm.
for Bowling for Soup.
Right.
Did you write it specifically for them? I know it was on an SR-71 album there, um, but did you hand that song over to them, or did they just cover it?
So that's the story of that song. It's a little convoluted. So we with SR, we had written a song for SR-71, and we uh, we put it out on a record that was only released in Japan. And the guy who put that deal together for us is he's actually a really big manager now, in the business. And but anyway, back then he was sort of getting started, but he was managing um, the producer who did the Bowling for Soup record, a guy
Okay.
named Butch Walker.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, so we our record had come out in like in the spring, late spring of whatever year that was. I don't remember now. And we put it out over there, and then Jonathan, I guess, called Mitch, our singer, the co-writer of the song, and said, "Hey, I think I think the song would be great for Bowling for Soup. What do you guys think?" And Mitch called me and asked me, and I was like, "Sure." And we had lost our domestic deal in the U.S. On RCA. And I was like, "Sure, man. It might be a way to for us to get a new domestic deal if it were to hit." And the rest is history. They
Yeah.
did the song, and it was massive. And they cleaned up our lyrics a bit, which helped get the song played in places that it never would have. It was all over Disney music and stuff, and our lyrics were a little dirtier and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, a little more questionable. And yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. And that's a great song to be a part of.
yeah.
For the Bills and for the history.
Yeah.
Um, but when you think back at all the songs you've written, is that in your, what's the best song you've written? Is that it up there for you?
Um, where's the best song I've written? It's so weird. I don't. I I'm always looking for the next. I'm looking at the next song, and I'm always so fired up about. You know, you my speaking for myself as a writer, as a creator. I'll be working on something, and in my head I've got such high hopes for it, such like what I hear in my head, I think this is going to be, phenomenal or whatever. And then, you know, it, it's it's hard to step outside of yourself and have perspective sometimes. That's why, like, I know, like, there are some songwriters that I've worked with, and they write all day with different people, co-writers and stuff, and then they kind of let things sit for a while, and that's a really great process that I need to learn to
Yeah.
do, because then you can come back at it like and with some fresh ears and be like, oh yeah, this is cool, and I could do this to it or whatever. Or you come back and you say, yeah, maybe it wasn't so great or whatever. It's really hard. I tend to like get something in my head and start, kind of working on it and beating it to death, for a few weeks, and try to see it through to its to it, bring it to fruition. And so I don't know, maybe it's my OCD about that, but probably my proudest song is a song that you've never heard, and it's a song called Foolish Pride, and it's a song that I've never well, not probably you've never heard, that you've never heard. So I need to finish it and get it out. It's a bluesy kind of ballady song, sort of in a Otis Redding kind of vibe. That's one of my proudest moments, and I've had that for years. And there's another one called, it's in the same vein called Dancing Emotions, but that's there. But I don't know, like what I did to Man of Constant Sorrow with Charm City, that I wrote the chorus for that. I actually, I don't feel right taking credit because it was already a great song. It
Right.
just didn't have what we thought of as a traditional kind of rock chorus. So I beat my brains in for a week, writing. I probably wrote like 8 to 12 different courses for that
Wow.
until I finally hit that one. And I was like, I think this is it, but I'm not quite sure. I was just so kind of brain dead at that point. And, I let my manager or actually the label hear it. And he was like, yeah, he's like, I think this is it. And, let other people kind of decide, and that speaks to like, picking singles and stuff. I don't know because
Too close to it kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm just too close to it. And sometimes things that I just kind of think, like I was kind of at the point with that one. I was like, yeah, it's good. I mean, I don't know that it's great. Like I didn't think, oh my gosh, like this is, this is top 20. This is unbelievable, and it turned out it was.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for me.
Yeah, and I think that's with any art because I'm a photographer, and
Oh,
I'll get to tweaking my photographs, and I'll work it, and raise some things, lower some things,
right.
and then I find that I'm just too close to it. I gotta step away, and
Yeah,
then when I come back, it looks totally different. It's
yeah.
like that's not what I left it as, but it is. And
Uh-huh.
I think when you really get into something that much, you really do. It helps to step away and then look at it in 20 minutes, and you don't see
Yeah.
it the same. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was saying to somebody, and I've said this over and over again, that we spend, like you were talking about, like tweaking things and getting into the minutia, and we spend so much time now. Granted, you get a recording engineer and you get into the studio and you work on the little details and you get them as good as you can, and you build that track, and then eventually all those tweaks hopefully make the bigger picture sound better. But I can't tell you how many minutes, how many hours, days, I think if I could add it all up, it's probably amounts to quite a few years spending on recording and trying to get things as good as possible. And then to think that I could play a track for you and you could say, I don't like his voice.
Right.
That's,
Right.
and just be
Exactly.
so dismissive so quickly over something that, as artists, like, yourself, you spend hours on. And yeah,
Yeah.
if I, really let that get to me, it'd drive me insane. But
Yeah, and there's nothing like it. I'm a concert photographer, really, and I'll shoot a show, and I got two of basically the same photograph, a little bit different. I'll choose one over the other, and I'll tweak it, and I'll just work it, and then my daughter will come in and say, I like the other one better,
uh,
like, oh,
yeah,
okay. So
yeah.
maybe I'm just not seeing things right. So
Sometimes you just get too inside. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's yours, so you're a little more critical and a little more in tune with what you're going for. So
My car, my GMC has Bluetooth, and I call it Bluetooth DJ. Sometimes I get in and I'll start it, and it'll just fire up, something from my phone. It'll start playing a random song, just whatever it decides to play. And a couple months ago, it played one of the last Charm City Devils records, and I was like, oh wow. I'm like, yeah, like this sounds good,
like you've never heard it before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, I was so stressed about the mix, and I was giving our producer, Mixer, a hard time, and I had to hit him up. I was like, dude, he did a really good job on this. This sounded really good. I'm sorry, I was busting your balls over the mixes and stuff. I was like you said, you just have to step away sometimes.
Yep. Yep, totally. Now, I gotta ask you, like, you mentioned "Foolish Pride." None
Hmm.
of us have heard it, and it's been around for years.
Hmm.
Why haven't we heard it? What is stopping you from getting in there and
So
actually recording?
I had written it for an older band, and again, it came down to a chorus. It didn't really have a chorus, and I reworked it, and I just haven't gotten this band to record the track. It's in a different key, I guess, where the old recording is, and so far I haven't really gotten the vocal that I want on it. So I think if we record in the key that we track all these, all these songs in nowadays, like I think that you know, we'll finally get it if I can get that vocal right.
Yeah, that's cool. It's exciting,
Yeah,
when you feel something, you obviously feel very strong about that
yeah,
song. So, it gets you. I would imagine that keeps you going back into the studio.
yeah.
Keeps that fire burning for sure.
Yeah, but and that's a tough thing because I'm always forward looking, so I'm always on to the next. So that sometimes it's tough to go back and to try and you know uh, tweak
Yeah,
something and make something uh, improve upon some older idea or whatever.
right, right.
But that one might
Uh,
be worth it.
I see the albums above you there, and
Mhm.
some of the greatest ever. We're birds of a feather, my friend. Um, what do you find yourself listening to that kind of thing a lot of the time? When you get in the car, and a Charm City Devils album doesn't come on. uh, what do you put on usually? What can we find you listening to?
I kind of tend to like I want to hear new stuff generally. Like these, I put these records up here because these are my formative records. I think I tried to choose stuff that, or at least artists that I thought would be, the ones that when I was a kid that first kind of formed my
Yeah.
my musical taste or whatever.
Oh
Van
yeah,
Halen here, GNR, of course.
yeah,
Kiss with Ace Frehley's
yeah.
signature on it. We got to open for him for a couple times,
That's awesome.
and yeah, so that was great.
What's next to that Kiss record?
Oh, it's it's actually Ramones. It's the soundtrack from
Oh,
Rock and Roll High School.
okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I love the Ramones, and being East Coast band, I guess
Yep.
just uh, love that. And then that movie was hilarious
Yeah, yeah,
too. So
man. Yeah, that's my youth as well.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's pretty great. Pretty great.
yeah.
Um, what's the first record you bought? Do you remember?
I think Kiss Destroyer as far as rock or hard rock. My parents had my earliest rock memories were my parents had Beatles 45s. So like She Loves You was one of them. And I remember I didn't like the flip side, but I liked the other one they had was really strong. It was one side was From Me to You and the other side was Please Please Me, and that was a
Oh,
rocking single, man.
yeah.
Please Please Me, that guitar riff. I mean, for Beatles, that was like thrash metal probably.
Right, and I do that so much. I got two kids, and I turn them on to as much music as I possibly can.
Mhm,
And I'll listen to like some Neil Diamond and
mhm.
stuff like that. And Jim Croce's a big one for me.
Oh yeah,
uh and I listen to this stuff, and especially like Love on the Rocks and stuff like that. His voice is so, I'm like, this is, and Little Richard, I mean, that's heavy stuff. It depends what you consider heavy, I guess.
right.
But
Yeah.
for me, I mean, it just makes me do this.
Well,
uh
you're talking about heaviness just even in their voices. I mean,
yeah,
I remember I got some Little Richard. I don't know what compelled me to just because I think I heard what I loved about Little Richard was the power of his voice, and you can hear it distorting either the microphone or the preamp,
yeah.
for like these, this is the 50s, and they were probably used to recording crooners like Bing Crosby
Right.
or singing like this, and here he comes, wah, ba, ba, loo, ba, ba,
Oh
he's
yeah.
shouting at the mic, so he's overwhelming the microphone to the degree that you hear that distortion in there. And I still love that, and I go back and I'll put distortion on my vocals,
Yeah.
to kind of get that effect.
Yeah, the whole room rattles when you listen to "Good Golly, Miss Molly." I mean,
Yeah.
it's like that's thrash. Is it? Why is that not thrash? Explain to me how that isn't thrash. I
Yeah.
mean, it's thrash with a piano.
Right. Right.
You put a heavy guitar to it, and it's heavy as Metallica.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so exciting for me.
Yeah.
Uh, that kind of thing is feeling that power of the music, no matter what you listen to, and I think this record, the material you're doing now, has that kind of thing where
Cool.
I
Thank you.
listen to it and I'm driven a certain way, and
Cool.
there's so much emotion to it, and it's
Nice.
really an exciting listen. So
Thank you.
uh, we're promoting that good old days,
Right.
um, and when can we expect more from Stone Horses? And, all that music you got in the can. When when do you plan on getting that out there?
Well, we haven't made any plans yet to get that finished. I mean, you know, depends on, I guess, what the ensuing months will bring. If we continue where we can't really get out and play, maybe sooner rather than later.
Yeah,
We're looking at things to do also to take this EP and take the first EP and maybe combine them, put them on vinyl to make that a special edition kind of release. And like you're saying, I mean, I'll continue working on new material. We've already got two new songs in the can. I have a couple of covers that have been recorded. Um, so we're already more than halfway to another EP, at least. So maybe next year another EP surfaces. We'll
man,
see what happens. Yeah.
very cool. Yeah, you mentioned vinyl. You guys are prime candidates for a great vinyl record. Yeah, I
Yeah.
look forward to that for sure,
Cool.
for
Cool.
sure. Well, John, thanks so much for your time, man.
Hey, thank
And
you. I really appreciate it.
yeah, let's talk again. Sorry to wake you up, man.
I,
But
I can't believe I slept that late, man.
well,
My old age.
since the pandemic, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm doing interviews at 10 a.m. It's like the hell,
Yeah, yeah.
rock stars don't wake up at 10 a.m. I never did one before noon before the pandemic.
I know. But I got a big to-do list actually that I'm supposed to be doing today. I should have been up hours ago. So, but dude, I
Well,
really appreciate it.
hey, I appreciate you starting your day with me, man, and it's been a
Dude.
blast.
Yeah, it's been awesome. You know what? I just remembered too, speaking to your Angel shirt. So
Yeah.
the guitar player and the bass player from Charm City Devils, they grew up in a neighborhood outside of Rockville, Maryland, and they knew Punky Meadows' family. The guitar player was friends with his brother, Timmy Meadows, who I think played in a bunch of bands around the DC area as well.
Right.
So yeah, it's all like coming.
See, that's cool too.
Yeah.
That community, because it's a little bit the same in Chicago.
Hmm.
You have your Cheap Trick, who is from Rockford, but
Right.
there's Enough's Enough and stuff like that, and your Sticks guys, and there's a kind of they all know each other. It's
Hmm.
all a little community as big
Yeah.
as the city is.
Yeah.
It's there's a pride in it, and I know it's the same there.
Yeah, man.
It's
Chicago, what a great, blew me away that like one of the first times. And we must have been sort of on the outskirts on one of the main arteries driving into town, and you just saw the city opening up, in front of you. Just went on. Seemed like that avenue just went on forever, and
Yeah, that's 290. Our expressway goes straight into the Sears Tower there,
yeah,
into the city, into the
incredible.
skyline. Pretty
What a
amazing.
great town! What a great town. The Merchant Center down there, right? Is that what it's called?
Merchandise mart. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
What a great, I've done some interviews there on the radio stations and stuff. Just a fantastic area. Great people. Love
Yeah.
the town. I miss it, man. Haven't been back in a while and just always had a blast in Chicago.
Well, it misses you too, man. And we'd love to see you there for sure.
Well, cool. Well, cool. Hey, hit us up on stonehorsesmusic.com. Sign up on our email list so you can get updates or track us on bands in town and stuff like that. Because we're probably going to be doing another live stream here coming up in the future. We've done 2 already, and
Cool.
they're different, but they're a blast, you know, and a way for us to get out and get our yayas out on the stage.
Yeah, yeah, and
Cool.
it's a lot of fun. I checked out a couple of those now.
Mhm.
Damon Johnson and
Yeah.
Dirty Honey did them.
Hmm.
A lot of people are doing them, and they're high tech. They're a
Hmm.
lot of multi-camera angles and stuff. So if somebody
Yeah.
hasn't checked that out, yeah, definitely check out that location, and I'll look forward to it, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Have a
you,
good.
John. Take care.
You
All
too.
right, we'll
See
talk
ya.
soon.
All right. Bye.
All right, see ya.